morning. This is part 2 to our landscaping video and designing your backyard. So we're just going to go over some of our points we mentioned in our first video and how we use them to plan this yard and how we finished everything, and it looks amazing. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is light. So in this yard there were 2 sections. So we had a lower light area, so got a little bit of morning sun, but then shade the rest of the day. So in this area we chose lots of hostas. They had good texture. We have some Bugbane here, emerald spreading yews, some Bergenia and coral bells. And we mixed all these guys up so that we would get lots of texture, lots of color, but even in a low light area. So this is our sort of lower light. And on the flip side here, this is the area that gets all the afternoon sun. So it heats up, it has lots of light. And so we chose Barberry here, which are these bright red ones here. Some more color, because we have the white background, was Panther Ninebark. So Ninebarks do really well in full sun, and you can get away with the burgundy colored ones in sunlight. If you have a lower light area, maybe try the more golden or green ones. And we also, my favorites, we planted some hydrangeas in here. So hydrangeas, there's 2 groups. I mean, if you watch our hydrangea video, you know that there's shade-loving and there's sun-loving hydrangeas. We chose the sun-loving hydrangeas here. Also in the front, we used some junipers as ground cover, one of our favorites that does really well here, the Calgary carpet. We have some upright junipers to give us some color, and also some easy daylilies as well. So we chose low-maintenance plants and things that tolerate the sun really well. This looks amazing. The second thing I was talking about was soil. So soil, again, we found out that this was all clay here, which is the norm for most people. So upon planting, we worked in lots and lots of compost, so sea soil and bone meal. So we added nutrients back to the soil, and we also added organic matter to break up some of that clay and to give the plants a really good chance and let those roots get established into healthy, rich soil. The purpose of this backyard, or thinking of what we're doing here, is entertaining a little bit, hanging out by the fire. So we have a fireplace over here. We've got our waterfall, but also there's a dog that lives in this yard. This is the perfect dog pond, conveniently just discovered. It's a big old drinking water bowl. It's a big bath, but lots of these plants are tough. So we have, there's dogs that run around in here, so there's mulch to cover the ground so we don't get dirt all over the place. And they're plants that won't get sort of beat up by dogs, so when they're running around, ripping around, having fun. The other thing too is thinking about our maintenance level. So the homeowner here, he works a lot, travels quite a bit. So we're looking for low maintenance plants, things that don't need to be fussed about. You don't need to do too much pruning. Again, you can see lots of evergreens, lots of shrubs, and just a few perennials. And we chose low maintenance perennials like Sedum and Daylilies, and perennial grasses as well. They're kind of scattered throughout the yard, because in the fall, all you have to do is just trim them right down to the ground. That's it, super easy. And the shrubs, you just let them do their thing. Okay, so thinking about our maintenance levels, again, very important. If you travel a lot or you go away or go to the lake on the weekends, just think of plants that can fend for themselves. So again, Sedum, drought tolerant once established. Same like our Barberry and our junipers, all drought tolerant once established. The other thing, and the last point we had here, was our year-round interest. So there's lots of big windows on the back of this house. So when we were planning this garden, we were looking out the windows and looking at what we would see. So on the back side here, which is where the windows face, we have lots of evergreens. We have some upright junipers. We have a unique weeping white pine here. So in the winter time, these plants are going to provide us with winter interest and give us something to look at. As well, the perennial grasses. So I love perennial grasses because you don't need to cut them down in the fall. You can actually let them stay upright over winter, and they dry perfectly. So you just let them stay up. They give you a little bit of movement in the winter, and it's also something else to look at. And eventually, when these hydrangeas here, so we've got 2 little Quickfire, and we have the Lavalamp Moonrock here. When these hydrangeas get nice and big and they're tall enough to stand above the snow line, you can let those flowers stay on. They dry perfectly into the same hydrangea shape, but again, that adds some winter interest so that you have something to look at. Our winters are long, so we're always thinking about all the seasons here. So those are just some of the things that we were talking about in our first video, and this is how we applied them into this yard, and it turned out beautifully. We worked in lots of color, lots of textures, easy plants. things that do really, really well in Alberta here. And I think just using these tips and kind of seeing what we did here is a really good way to get you going on your project. So thanks for joining us.